They say age is just a number, but when the wrong boundary gets crossed, that number becomes a countdown. This is RayReels. We dissect the hidden psychological cost of the relationships the movies try to romanticize. Today, we rank 10 films where an older woman and a younger man broke an irreversible taboo and paid for it with absolute destruction. And stick around for number 1. It's a masterclass in manipulation that ended in real-life, cold-blooded murder. Starting our countdown at number 10, My Mistress, 2014. Charlie is a vulnerable, heavily grieving 16-year-old drifting after his father's sudden suicide. He encounters Maggie, a commanding older professional dominatrix operating a private sanctuary just steps from his neighborhood. The catalyst is trauma and escape. Unable to process his grief, Charlie latches onto Maggie as a psychological anchor. Maggie allows her rigid professional boundaries to fracture, and what began as unconventional emotional intimacy mutates into a toxic, physical codependency. The fallout is a total mental collapse. Charlie is far too fragile for her underground world. The escape becomes a black obsession, cutting him off from his peers and pulling him toward a devastating psychological breakdown. The RayReels verdict: pain is not a playground. Charlie didn't want a lover, he wanted a shield from reality. And it cost him his sanity. From grief-fueled escape to raw, sun-soaked obsession. At number 9, The Paperboy, 2012. Jack is a drifting, invisible 20-year-old suffocating in the Florida heat. His world collides with Charlotte, an unstable, hypersexualized older woman obsessed with a death row inmate. The catalyst is isolation and proximity. Thrown together during a tense summer investigation, Jack's raw infatuation gives Charlotte an adoring audience. The line shatters when empathy tips into a degrading, highly physical affair. The fallout is Jack's obsession destroys his moral compass, creating dangerous blind spots that drag his entire family into a swamp of local violence, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder. The RayReels verdict: attention is a drug. Jack didn't want an older lover, he wanted to be seen, and he paid for it with his family's reality. From a man who couldn't see the trap, to a woman who walked straight into one she built herself. At number 8, A Teacher, 2013. Diana is a high school literature teacher trapped in a stagnant, lonely marriage. That suffocating daily routine shifts when she meets Eric, a charismatic, highly confident senior who represents everything she thinks she's missing. The catalyst is the hunger for validation. Diana slowly dismantles her professional guard, turning casual mentoring into a high-stakes game of seduction. The line is crossed in the back seat of her car, impulsive, reckless, and irreversible. The fallout is a suffocating wave of legal panic. As the thrill fades, severe paranoia sets in. The affair shatters Eric's emotional development and exposes Diana to criminal investigations that permanently erase her career and her life as she knew it. The RayReels verdict: power dynamics always collect their debt. Diana treated her classroom like an emotional pressure valve, and she paid for it with complete institutional ruin. Before we go further, drop a comment right now. We've seen grief, obsession, and ego push people past the point of no return. But here's the question: is the older person always the predator, or can the younger one be just as dangerous? Tell me what you think below. I read every single one. Now, back to the wreckage. From a teacher who thought she was in control, to a man surrounded by invisible radiation, and even more invisible warning signs. At number 7, The Reader, 2008. Michael is a naive, sickly 15-year-old schoolboy in post-World War II Germany. He is rescued from illness by Hannah, a guarded, fiercely independent 36-year-old tram conductor living a deeply isolated life. The catalyst is a profound mutual emptiness. Michael is captivated by her maturity. Hannah craves distraction from a hidden past. A ritual forms. He reads literature aloud, and she introduces him to a world of intense physical passion. The fallout is a deep, lifelong psychological scarring. Hannah vanishes without warning, leaving Michael emotionally paralyzed for decades. Years later, as a law student, he enters a courtroom, only to find his first love standing trial for horrific war crimes. The RayReels verdict: ignorance is an expensive illusion. Michael thought he was discovering adult freedom. He was actually anchoring his soul to a historical crime scene. From one man's emotional paralysis to another's literal near-destruction. Coming in at number 6, Grand Central, 2013. Gary is a young, unskilled contractor taking a dangerous, low-paying job inside a nuclear power plant. Inside this radioactive environment, he meets Carol, a magnetic older woman already engaged to the veteran worker training him. The catalyst is the constant proximity to death. Surviving daily adrenaline spikes leaves Gary desperate for human connection. Stolen moments with Carol become a full-blown affair, violating worker loyalty, workplace safety, and basic survival instinct all at once. The fallout is a physical catastrophe. The emotional distraction shatters Gary's concentration. In a world where a single mistake is fatal, his negligence leads directly to massive radiation exposure and permanent physical damage. The RayReels verdict: stolen time runs out fast. Gary tried to use a dangerous relationship to feel alive, and he paid for it with his body. From physical destruction to something far more predatory, a quiet obsession that no one saw coming. At number 5, Crush, 2013. Scott is a popular, highly talented high school varsity soccer star with a bright future. What he doesn't know is that he has become the sole obsession of a disturbed older admirer who has been watching his every move. The catalyst is rejection. When Scott casually dismisses her attention, he unknowingly flips a switch inside an unhinged mind. Silent observation morphs into an aggressive, relentless campaign to isolate him from everyone he loves. The fallout is a violent stalker nightmare. People close to Scott are brutally attacked. His athletic career is derailed. His life gets pulled into a bloody, terrifying showdown with someone he barely knew existed. The RayReels verdict: obsession is a terminal disease. Scott treated his popularity like currency, never knowing a dark mind was already waiting to liquidate his entire future. From the terror of being hunted to the slow, suffocating trap of class war. Sliding in at number 4, White Palace, 1990. Max is a 27-year-old advertising executive completely frozen in grief after his wife's tragic death. He lives a sanitized upper-class life until he meets Nora, a volatile 43-year-old working-class waitress who shatters every clean edge he has built around himself. The catalyst is a total emotional collapse. Desperate to escape his numbness, Max finds raw, unpolished reality in Nora that his polished social circle can never offer. Their mutual loneliness explodes into an erratic affair that Max desperately tries to drag into his professional world. The fallout is a severe social alienation and intense mental instability. The age gap collides brutally with the class divide, breeding explosive insecurity, screaming matches, fractured friendships, and the systematic unraveling of Max's carefully constructed identity. The RayReels verdict: loneliness makes bad contracts. Max didn't want a new life. He just wanted a hiding place from his grief. And he paid for it with his social reality. From class warfare to an even more calculated type of destruction, where the weapon is a pen. Coming in at number 3, Submission, 2017. Ted is a cynical creative writing professor, a one-hit wonder author thoroughly bored with his stable marriage. That quiet dissatisfaction is shattered when Angela, a sharp and highly ambitious young student, starts submitting provocative work that strokes his fragile ego in all the right places. The catalyst is the hunger for creative rebirth. Angela plays him perfectly, using her writing assignments as calculated bait. Ted starts seeing her as his muse. Private office hours blur into an impulsive, deeply compromised hotel room encounter. The fallout is a total institutional warfare. Angela immediately weaponizes the affair, turning it into a calculated campaign of blackmail and public exposure. Ted's marriage collapses. His academic standing is permanently erased. The RayReels verdict: validation is a dangerous drug. Ted mistook his authority for immunity, completely blind to the fact that his student was already writing his destruction. From a man who handed someone the knife, to a man who convinced himself no one would ever use it. At number 2, Loving Adults, 2022. Christian appears to have it all: an immaculate life, a devoted wife, a son who just survived a life-threatening illness. Behind the surface, he is deep into a passionate secret affair with a much younger woman at his firm. The catalyst is the illusion of freedom. Believing he can simply buy his way into a new life, Christian demands a divorce. But his wife Leonora doesn't just walk away. She threatens to expose his corporate fraud, forcing Christian across the most irreversible line of all. The fallout is a blood-soaked trail of desperation. His move backfires spectacularly, pulling him into a dark spiral of spousal blackmail and calculated murder. The affair becomes the fuse that destroys multiple lives and binds a family permanently in bloodshed. The RayReels verdict: The price of a new beginning can be absolute. Christian tried to buy his way into a younger woman's arms, and he paid with his soul. Everything we've covered, obsession, manipulation, ego, desperation, all of it converges at number one. A true story, a mother, a son, and a crime that made international headlines. And at number one, Savage Grace, 2007. Barbara is a beautiful, deeply unstable high society elite trapped in a cold, loveless marriage. When her psychological fractures deepen, they become entirely focused on one person, her young son Anthony. A boy raised in an environment of complete emotional abandonment. The catalyst is an ultimate psychological manipulation. When her husband leaves her for a younger woman, Barbara's mind completely unravels. She turns to Anthony as a surrogate partner, crossing the ultimate taboo under the grotesque guise of healing his psychological wounds. The fallout is a true crime bloodshed and the permanent destruction of a human psyche. The boundary crossing liquidates what remains of Anthony's sanity. The toxic codependency reaches its horrifying, real-life climax inside their London apartment, where years of systematic manipulation culminate in Anthony brutally murdering his mother on the kitchen floor. The RayReels verdict: when the natural boundary of protection is inverted, the result is total annihilation. Barbara didn't just cross a line, she methodically destroyed her son's humanity. And she paid for it with her life. 10 films, 10 devastations. But the real question isn't which crossing was the most shocking. It's why we keep watching stories like these. What is it about forbidden dynamics that cinema keeps returning to? Drop your answer in the comments. And while you're there, answer the question from earlier. Is the older person always the predator? Let's talk about it. If this breakdown hit different, subscribe and join the RayReels community. New case studies every week. I'm Ray. See you in the next case study.